All right, hello, welcome everybody to the end of another week. I'm Tom. I'm here with George. Hello, George.
Hello, Tom. How are you?
I'm, well, I've been better. I've been worse.
Dude, I'll tell you what, though. I just didn't even look at the stock market today. I'm going to be honest with you.
Well, you didn't miss much, but it was the Bitcoin miners just kind of faded as the day went on. And not so much Bitcoin, a small move in Bitcoin today. We're going to talk about what happened today. We're talking with the Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners, what happened this week. All the operational reports came out for the most part, so we can go through some of that and a bunch of other news. So there's a lot to go through. The jobs report came out. A member of the Fed spoke yesterday, and bad things happened. So, big week.
Yeah, Tom, I just saw somebody said something. Manny said, I can't afford to buy the dip. When's the rip coming?
Well, I feel you, Manny, because here's the thing. I mean, how many times can you buy the dip? It's been with the Bitcoin miners. Now, Bitcoin's a different story. We'll zoom out in a few minutes. Hold on, I don't have any chart up. Let me get the chart up. Okay, so this is Bitcoin on the 15-minute chart. We'll go through this. Not much action here today. But if we look at the last 3 months and the last 16 or 17 months, Bitcoin's been on a roll. So it's not so much Bitcoin, it's the Bitcoin miners. And, I know a lot of us have been trying to dollar cost average into these things. And they really, I think this week, they put us through the ringer in a big way. The big three in particular, Marathon, Riot, and Cleanspark, did not behave well this week at all. There were a few that did a little bit better, but it was not a good week for the Bitcoin miners. After 2 weeks in a row of fairly good performance from the Bitcoin miners in relation to Bitcoin and in general, this week, not so good. So we got to get to the bottom of it. A lot of the operational reports came out. We are getting very, very close to the halving. So I don't know that I can pinpoint. I mean, we're going to discuss and see what everybody thinks. There's a lot going on. We got to talk stock by stock, and we got to talk Bitcoin. Some of these, I will tell you guys which ones I thought had the best operational reports for March. The March operational reports came out. So there were a couple that I thought were Grand Slam home runs. There were a couple that I thought were very disappointing, although that might be the wrong word because they kind of met my expectations. They were just not good. But I think we were all expecting that. So we'll go through kind of winners and losers for the month, and we'll see what's what. Midway, thank you for being a member, first of all, and thank you for the super chat. Midway said, what do you think about Riot's monthly operational update? Okay, so you're gonna go to the head of the line on that one. So I said I think there were some winners and losers, and a couple that I thought were home runs and a couple that were disappointments. And to me, Riots was a disappointment. But I must say, I'm not sure that's the right word. I thought it was probably what I was expecting, but just another, there's a little bit of fatigue, if not exhaustion, and the market is showing that in Riot's stock price. I mean, Riot is trading at around $10. That's just absolutely stunning to me, with Bitcoin, bouncing around above and below its previous all-time high from the previous cycle. Riot at $10 to me is just it's stunning, and to a certain extent, in the short term, I guess they've kind of earned that, is what I think I would say. So they mined, if I remember correctly, 425 Bitcoin. So not a good number, but not a surprise. Probably pretty much just what everybody was expecting. They went through their growth plans. We'll take a little bit deeper look at that later. One of the things that's disappointing to me is last year, they closed out a $500 million at-the-market offering, and then they opened and closed a $750 million at-the-market offering. I think they opened that in August of last year. So they've finished that one, and now they have another $750 million offering. So, okay, we get it. The big three, which are Marathon, Riot, and CleanSpark, they're raising a lot of money. There's a lot of stock dilution going on out there. But my question is, why, particularly with Riot, they just don't necessarily seem to be keeping up with their direct competitors. So I consider those three direct competition. I have reasons why I don't put Core Scientific into that group, although Core Scientific, just will be on record, they mined more Bitcoin in March than any of the other publicly traded monies or companies. So they came in first place for the second month in a row. Just once again, just a few Bitcoin different than Marathon, but they did finish ahead of Marathon. However, there's some balance sheet differences that are fairly dramatic that make me feel, they're not in that top three at the moment. But with the top three, with all the money that Riot has raised, what jumps off the page at me is not so much their monthly operational performance, but their target for December 31st, 2025 is, I believe, 40.8 exahash. So that might sound like a lot, and it is a lot, right? They'll probably be the third largest if they get there. But the thing is, CleanSpark went from just a small fraction of the size of Riot. I mean, Riot was multiples bigger than CleanSpark, and CleanSpark's targeting 50 exahash on that same day. Now, both of those companies have an awful lot of execution to get from where they are to where they're going. But in the meantime, CleanSpark has already blown by them in operational exahash that's up and running. Riot started talking about 12.4 exahash 2 years ago. They're still there right now. Now, they're about to add a bunch more. They've been adding a lot of infrastructure, so we'll see. Again, execution is ahead for them. CleanSpark's mining, not quite, but almost double what Riot is mining.
Not very good.
I think that's why the market's punishing Riot in the short term. I'll tell you guys, for as much as I just went on a rant about, what's going on with Riot, I actually still have a pretty decent level of conviction that they're going to get where they're going. I think I don't want to say sandbagging. I think they're being conservative with this 40.8 exahash. At least I hope. However, I will tell you, when, the first quarter of the calendar year 2024 is over. So we're going to be getting, quarterly reports, sometime maybe in the middle of next month. And I'm going to be taking a very close look at these quarterly reports. At some point, you can't just keep saying, well, I think they're going to end up doing what, I hoped they were going to do. So the one that I will be looking the most closely at for sure for me, which is one of my big positions, is Riot.
I'm not happy with Riot.
No, I mean...
But 2 more weeks.
Oh, we need to ask people, we need to ask to smash the like button. Please, if everybody could do us a big favor. It helps the stream.
I was wondering where you were.
Yeah, I'm asleep at the wheel. We have our smallest amount of people on this stream that we've had in 6 months as of this moment right now.
Everybody's getting ready to go to the eclipse, Tom?
Oh, that could be. Maybe they're prepping for the eclipse, but but it will help us if you would please smash the like button. That does help the stream in real time. So let's get people here. Let's talk about what's going on. Sourmelon Gaming, I see that you're saying, Tom, I keep getting ads on the live stream. I will tell you, I think that this is something that YouTube has recently done. I saw several other YouTubers having the same experience as I watched their live streams, and I saw a lot of people asking the questions and complaining what's going on. So I just think this is something that they've done. If you have YouTube Premium, you don't get any ads, but for most of us, if you're watching, I don't know why they're doing that, but they're now putting ads mid live stream, not just before you get into the live stream. So I don't know, but I do see pretty much all the other channels experiencing the same thing. The Real Gary Ginsler, thank you for the super chat, and thank you for being a member.
Both of you look depressed.
Said, back after months, both of you look depressed. Yeah, well, I'm not depressed. I'm not happy with this week's price action. This was a week I thought the Bitcoin miners, they had a couple of weeks of decent momentum. I thought that would continue. You know, it all started yesterday morning when, you know, Cleanspark, for the first hour of the day, Cleanspark was up as much as 8% yesterday morning. It was trading in the 17s. And then everything just started to crumble. And then I'm going to go to an article because in a moment, and this is what the Fed can do, and this is the unfortunate power of the Fed, and you could call it whatever you want, but simultaneously, the entire stock market and almost every single asset and commodity across the board, with the exception of oil, which went up, everything crashed in one moment yesterday, and I believe it was because of this. Nope. I take that back. This. Oh, come on. I think I just closed it. Hold on. Give me a second. Pardon my ineptitude.
Why did you do
here.
that? I put in a garden today. That's what I was doing.
Nice.
Getting ready to grow some tomatoes, guys. Lettuce, tomatoes, cucumbers. I'm a whack job.
That's not wacky. Kidding me? All right, give me just a second. If I can't find this in a second, I will just talk about it. The Fed, one of the members of the Fed spoke in the middle of the day. I really want to take 1 second and pull this up. I will find it in a minute, I think. Yeah, here, let me just...
Nice. I forgot a mouse down in Florida, so.
Huh? What? Oh, a mouse. I thought you meant a mouse. Okay, so, pardon the delay, but here. Fed members update interest rate outlooks rock the markets. So this was yesterday. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell wants to cut interest rates this year. He's been saying it regularly all year. But remarks from Fed officials Thursday suggest the when of rate cuts may not come as soon as many people, from home buyers and sellers to Wall Street traders, might expect. Pardon my mispronunciation, but Neil Kashkari, the president of the Federal Reserve Bank of Minneapolis, said it's possible there will be no rate cuts this year. Quote, "If we continue to see inflation moving sideways, then that would make me question whether we need to do the rate cuts at all," he said in an interview. So this is the thing. This tanked the market. And you could see, if you look at the chart yesterday, the Dow, the NASDAQ, the S&P 500, the Russell 2000, all simultaneously just went down in a straight line, as did Bitcoin, as did all the Bitcoin miners. And to me, this is one of those things where the market, this is just an opportunity for big money, in my opinion, to do manipulation, because this is a statement in the obvious. This is not a change in the Fed's policy. It's not even hinting at a change. They're saying, you know, if inflation is bad, we're not going to be able to lower rates. Well, everybody, you know, we all already knew that. That's not news. But, you know, this is just the power of even just a Fed member speaking. You know, this is not the chairman, Jerome Powell. If we continue to see inflation moving sideways, then it would make me question. I mean, this is a very generic statement. So to just tank the entire stock market was definitely, that was very discouraging to me. So to get back to the real Gary Gensler, the real Gary Gensler, you got to get your Fed members in line, because they can't be saying stuff like this. You see the effect it has on the market, and what have they really said? I mean, they just had their meeting. They put out their DART chart plot, and it looks like 3 rate cuts this year. So everybody's, you know, now we're debating, is it going to be 2? Is it going to be 3? I will stand by this. I believe very strongly we will get at least 3 rate cuts this year. They're definitely coming later than I expected, but there's a few reasons that loom larger than all of the rest of this, including inflation. Even though inflation is the 800-pound gorilla, there's 34 trillion reasons why they're going to lower interest rates.
I got 80 million reasons.
80 million?
Yeah.
What's the 80 million reasons?
Votes?
Oh, ha, gotcha. Well, there you go. It's an election year. And
I don't agree with you anymore, by the way.
What's your thoughts?
I only think maybe 2 if we're lucky, but 1.
You think 1 rate cut this year?
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, only
It's
time will
stupid.
tell. But the Fed themselves just had a meeting, and they just put out their information that they were planning as of 2 weeks ago for 3 rate cuts this year. So it could be less. It could be 0. Maybe inflation goes the wrong way. Here's another thing that happened. So that was yesterday, and yet this happens today, and the market shrugs it off. Something real. So these are just words. This actually happened today. Brisk hiring bolsters the Fed's cautious stance on rate cuts. The U.S. economy added 303,000 jobs in March, significantly more than the expected 200,000. So this is a gigantic beat. These numbers are, and they get revised and they get revised, but, this is about as big a beat as I've ever seen on jobs. So you would think, with a dual mandate of, employment and inflation, with jobs being stronger than ever, unemployment went down from 3.9 to 3.8. Now, that was as expected. 3.8 was in line with expectations, but at unemployment at 3.8, adding, this many jobs. Yet on this news, if you look at the market today, green, S&P up 1.1%, Dow up 0.8%, NASDAQ up 1.24%, Russell up 0.5%. That continues to lag. So whereas yesterday we got decimated on kind of words that I think didn't mean anything, today we get some real news. This does give the Fed some cover to maybe not lower rates as fast. And yet the market goes up. So go figure. I'm confused.
Nothing makes sense, Tom.
Up is down. Down is up. I don't know what's going on. Meanwhile, Bitcoin is hovering inside of a very tight range, right? This is not bad performance by Bitcoin. For those of you, let's get a poll going. Right? Where's everybody at on Bitcoin? Back up to 74,000. I'll tell you, let's take a look at this. So, as George, can you put a poll together?
Yeah. That's what I'm doing. I was in my account, not your account.
We have a double bottom. This is on the 15-minute time frame. So again, this is very short term. This goes back to Tuesday. We have a double bottom at 64,500. We hit that on Tuesday, and then again later in the day on Tuesday, and bounced off of that, and we haven't gotten near it since. So my question would be, are we going back up to 74,000, or are we going down to 64,000? Or are we going to continue to just go sideways?
So do I just say sideways?
I think we got to pick up or down. Where are we going? Which one do we get to next? Because even if we go sideways in the middle,
You just want me to put Bitcoin price up or down?
up to 74, down to 64. And then we can look at, all right, we got our first poll of the day. We're very late. If you just joined us, if you could do us a big favor and smash the like button, it would be much appreciated. It helps the stream out in real time. So if you would be so kind. And if you're new here to this channel, if you are interested in Bitcoin, if you're interested in the Bitcoin miners, you can consider subscribing to the channel. We talk about Bitcoin and the miners all the time. We got a bunch of deep dives you can check out on the channel. I did a deep dive on CleanSpark this week. And you want to talk about emotional, a lot of very emotional responses to the CleanSpark deep dive. So you can check out the comments section as well. People are very heated.
I have no comment, but the only thing I will say is this.
I feel like
No comment, though.
I feel like that's a comment.
That's not a comment. That's just a statement.
Well, CleanSpark is my largest position out of all the Bitcoin miners. So, you know, my portfolio took a hit from
sure.
CleanSpark. You know, it was at $24. What was that? A week ago? A week and a half ago, it's trading at $15.60.
It's so funny because I remember you guys were all picking on me for selling. Because it came out last Thursday. Do you remember this?
Oh, yeah.
And I just dumped it. I said, that's it. I'm selling right now. And you're like, you're an idiot. And I said, I'm an idiot.
I didn't call you an idiot. I'm not.
Anytime I hear that, I wait. I'll get back in. But I still think, well, a lot has to do with what's going on right now.
Geopolitical, etc.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just everything. I mean, well, first of all, good news. There's an eclipse on Monday. I think that's good for Bitcoin. Anytime there's crazy things that happen in the space out here, the final frontier.
Out
good
where
for
you
Bitcoin.
are. That's right. I forgot you were. George is currently in space.
So, but Tom, I mean, where is it now? Where's CleanSpark hanging out? What happened to our chart?
CleanSpark is at what chart?
Not our chart, of what we're gonna do.
Oh,
that only lasted a week.
No, we're freestyling. There was just too many. I was at too many items. So if you want to check out, and I think I will try to go back to it next week. We're trying to add some structure and go through items one at a time. But today I was a little overwhelmed with everything that's going on out there. So I couldn't put them in the right order, and we will get back to that. I think people like that, and it was a great stream last Friday.
So it was last Thursday?
Sorry, thank you. Good point. Last Thursday. Thank you.
So I just thought it was piss poor timing when they did that. To me, that's the stuff. The matrix of it, or how they just facilitated it, bothered me. It's just not cool.
Well, for those of you who don't know or don't follow along with CleanSpark, they did a $500 million at the market shelf offering on January 5th, I believe it was, 2024, so just 3 months ago. And then on March 27th, less than 3 months later, they announced they closed that out. They with I think 34 million shares, they raised that $500 million, and they added another $800 million at the market offering on top of that. So that's $1.3 billion. And so, a lot of people had mixed feelings about that. I go through that in great detail in my deep dive if you're interested in learning more about that, because I really broke it down exactly what they did, why I think they did it, why they said they did it, what their growth plans are. And to me, right now, it's a question of, can they execute? So with all the big three, Marathon, Riot, and CleanSpark, and obviously all of these companies, the bottom line is, when you have monumental growth plans, if you don't execute on them properly, and I'll go back to for a few examples. Marathon in 2022 was very, very frustrating. So, and we talked about it on the channel. They just didn't get where they said they were going. But the thing was, they never modified their talking points. They just kept saying they were going to do it, and they didn't do it. So they finally did get where they were going. It was like a year late, so better late than never. And I did talk about, if they turn this thing around and they get to where they're going, I think that ultimately this company's going to be a winner. But, when you're 6, 8, 12 months into just not hitting your targets and not really updating them in a meaningful way to say, hey, we're not going to do this, but, we're going to do it. We are going to get there. It's going to take That's better. CleanSpark, for instance, CleanSpark missed by, like 45 days recently. They were hoping to have 16 exahash installed December 31st. They missed that by like 45 days, but they had multiple, and that's a super short amount to miss by. That's very close. But they came out multiple times and said, they gave an early warning. We're not going to get that. Back in November, they said, we're not going to get December 31st. And they kind of kept us in the loop. So transparency and, accuracy, saying you're going to do something and then doing it. And if you don't do it, give us a comprehensive update as to what you're going to do. You know what I mean? At some point, you've got to start doing what you say you're going to do. So CleanSpark, I think, really, they did everything that they said they were going to do. They were at 10.0 exahash on January 31st, and they're at 17 exahash now. So,
That is the nicest thing to see out of all the miners, at least to see that. You know what I mean?
Right. So they went.
I mean, look at freaking Riot. How many weeks they've been saying? 2 more weeks. 2 more weeks, Tom.
Right. So with Riot, I'm going to go to their thing because
2 more weeks.
If you look at Riot, I just want everybody to look at this number. And this is one of my bigger positions, and I haven't dumped it. So, I'm in one of those situations where I still think they're going to get where they're going, but at some point it is exhausting. This 12.4 exahash, they've been at this. You can see last March they were at 10.5 exahash, but last March they were supposed to be at 12.4. They've been talking about 12.4 since 2022. It's now March of 2024, and that's where they're at, 12.4. Now, in the next several months, they expect to have some big increases. So this is what I'm saying. Over the next 90 days in particular, we're going to get financial statements out of them, and then we're going to get, the next 2 or 3 monthly operational updates. They need to start hitting some targets. They have to start improving. And they have other problems past that we've talked about at great length. Last month, I did a deep dive on Riot. I will do another one this month because there's just a lot going on. There's a lot of things I'm super optimistic about, but there's 2 or 3 things that give me great pause. So this is one of those I'm keeping. Go ahead, Jordan.
I can say this because I've lost 6 figures now on Riot. And I just as you were talking just now, I remember this conversation that you had with Jason. Okay?
Right.
And this is 2 years ago that conversation was, I believe.
It was
or
a
year and a
about
half.
it was
Year
a
and a
little
half?
over a year ago.
And he was indignant when you asked him about building G. Okay? He was indignant. He was just like, whatever. Are you kidding me? We could have mined twice as many Bitcoin now up until 2 weeks from now, and I don't believe it's up.
And this is why I think that other than the recent pullback, I know we just had a huge pullback in CleanSpark, but CleanSpark, even with that gigantic pullback, is still drastically ahead of all the other Bitcoin miners over the last 6 to 8 months as far as their stock price goes. And the reason for that is CleanSpark did plan ahead. They ramped up prior to the halving. They ramped up more than, and they're not the only ones. There's 2 or 3 others that did a good job of adding exahash that started to mine more Bitcoin, but CleanSpark the leader by far. I mean, to get from 10 to 17 in a couple of months, and in that period of time, they went over the last 6 months. They went from 500 Bitcoin on their balance sheet to 5,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet, and they announced a shift in that strategy 6 months ago. And right here on the channel, we speculated, if they do this right, I said I thought they could get to 5,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet by the halving. So they got there by March 31st. I think, in April, most of April will be pre-halving, or, whatever, 2/3 of it. So by April and May, they could get to 6,000.
So I have a question. You keep going back and you don't rip on Riot. Because Jeff's in here. When are this, whatever you call it, katanas, whatever it is, Corsica, the Chevy Corsica, when is that coming out?
I think, right?
Yeah, when's that thing coming out online? What does this article say? Does it say 2 weeks again?
March was a key. This is a quote from Jason Less. March was a key month for Riot as we approach the commencement of operations at our new Corsicana facility, said Jason Lest, CEO of Riot. Riot's first building at the Corsicana facility, Building A1, is expected to commence operation in mid-April 2024. So there's your 2 weeks, George.
There you go.
And
2 weeks, Jeff. 2 weeks.
And we'll add an anticipated 3.7 exahash to our self-mining hash rate once miners have been fully deployed shortly thereafter. So this is
May.
This is the first checkpoint. Our April update, I would expect Riot to announce that they're now at 16 exahash, right? Because 12.4 plus 3.7, that's 16.1 exahash. So that's what they just said they're going to do. So this is what I'm saying. We need to start measuring, versus what they say they're going to do versus what they do. And if they don't do that, then, they got to tell us what's going on. I think there's every chance, they're going to do somewhere in the middle. I do think they're going to start adding exahash. I know. Here's the other thing. With Riot, all these companies have different approaches. Riot's, in the short term, and it's not so short, it's been a while, maybe the most frustrating, but they are building their own facilities. They have a 700 megawatt facility, and Corsicana is a 1 gigawatt facility. So they have 1.7 gigawatts of their own infrastructure. And so that takes a long time. The last thing that you do is add the Bitcoin miners, and I believe they said they have these miners. They just, they got to get them up, and everything's got to be in. Then you get them up and running and turn them on. Well, it looks like they're saying that's going to happen imminently. They then go on to say development of the next 3 buildings at the Corsicana facility is in progress, completion of which will bring anticipated 13 exahash of self-mining capacity online this year. So our self-mining capacity is expected to reach 31 exahash by the end of the year. So here's some of the things they're telling us. And
they think they're read that one last statement again, and then Scott will get right to your super chat. That one line one more time.
Our self-mining capacity is expected to reach 31 exahash by the end of 2024.
I will bet almost everything I have in my account that they don't hit 31.
So my thing would be, I don't know if they're going to hit 31, but here's what I'd like to see.
I'm expected to be 250 pounds by the end of the year, guys.
If they make progress every single month, what we want to see is measurable progress towards these goals. Everybody doesn't have to perfectly hit their goals, because we've seen, and you know as well as I do, you have a career of experience in construction, and they've got a lot of infrastructure to build out. You don't always hit every deadline. Thanks. And we've seen that more so than ever in the Bitcoin miners. But if they are clearly moving towards this, and we see that maybe they're going to get there later, but they're going to get there, well, that's what Riot did, or Marathon did. Now, Marathon's got a different thing going on now, which we'll get to, but I want to get to Scott. Scott Richardson, thanks for being a member, and thanks for the super chat. T&G, you pushed miners for the last 2 years. Now I believe that BitX leveraged, or the market is telling us something. We needed to listen. So what are you saying, Scott, that you're not interested? You're out of the Bitcoin miners? Elaborate.
I think that's what he says. No, what I am thinking about. So here's what I did, guys. I made a ton of money on CleanSpark, and I thought that run was over with. I only have so much money, and I dumped it all into Riot, and that was a bad mistake.
Time will tell.
Bad mistake. I'm actually thinking of selling half of. I don't have all my money deployed. My powder, I got a lot of powder on the sideline, and I'm thinking about taking and putting it into CleanSpark. I'm just waiting. I'm waiting.
Well, they're very near. On the chart, we'll look at their chart. They're very near a line of support, CleanSpark. So, for whatever that's worth, and the technicals.
I was hoping $12.
So you're waiting for something lower than that.
Yeah, I was hoping. I mean, so it could have went either way. This week I knew would be rough, and I just didn't know how. I thought it could get rougher.
we're gonna have to see. I mean, I think for Bitcoin this week was okay. For the Bitcoin miners, when I do my update over the weekend, you're gonna see the Bitcoin miners had a bad week this week. So that's just the bottom line. I mean, Scott, just so that you know, I mean, I've let everybody know what my positions are, and so I have an abandoned ship. But remember, please, everybody. So to Scott's point, we're not pushing the miners. We're talking about the miners. We're giving information on the miners. I let you guys know, like, we try to provide information, but I really adamantly always, and people get sick of hearing it, this is not financial advice. And the other thing that I pound on is these are extremely volatile assets, and these are very difficult things to invest in. Now, there's a group of people that have been investing for a long time in these. They've become, accustomed to the volatility, the ups and downs, the lags. These things run in giant spurts. We've seen that. So, for instance, CleanSpark took a run from $3 to $24 in, 15 months. So, that was the good news. Now they just ran from $24 down to $15.60 in a week and a half. So that's the bad news. So, this is a very, very tough space to be in. So please, don't ever do what anybody on YouTube is doing just because somebody on YouTube said this or that. And I'll tell you, I watch other channels, and I see a lot of people so adamant about doing things, and it's like, you always got to be so careful. So just, you guys do your own thing. But, you got to do your own due diligence. You got to have conviction in the stocks that you buy. For, this is a hard week. These are the hard times. And there's also no guarantee. This is all risk reward, right? Investing comes with risk. So, there's now a bunch of ETFs. Maybe that's a more comfortable place for some people to be in, or just holding Bitcoin itself. A lot of people like MicroStrategy. That's another way to get exposure to Bitcoin. A lot of people consider Coinbase, indirect exposure to Bitcoin. So there's a lot of different ways to play this if you have conviction in Bitcoin. So go ahead, George.
You and I were talking. We just briefly touched on it. Do you think that there just isn't enough money for these miners because of maybe the ETF, or do you think that I'm just missing something?
I don't think the ETFs negatively impacted the Bitcoin miners. And so I don't know if in the short term there's a different answer to this, but over time,
by the way.
What's good for Bitcoin is good for the Bitcoin miners. For the Bitcoin miners that are executing their plans and are successful. The other thing that I have said probably 1,000 times or more is I do think in this cycle there's going to be winners and losers. So we talk about that pretty much in almost every single video we've made, whether it's a live stream or a video. I do think there's going to be winners and losers this time around. And, it's not just throw a dart at a board, pick a Bitcoin miner, and it's going to 10x or 50x or whatever the case may be. There's a lot more competition in this space. And you can see you've got big companies. There's 8 companies with plans to get to 20 exahash or more. Right? I mean, in the last cycle, 3 exahash was like a big Bitcoin miner. Now you're talking about companies that are talking about 40 exahash, 50 exahash, 70 exahash. So, the whole network was only 100 exahash at one point in the last cycle. So, now we're going to have potentially one company that's going to be that size. So there's a lot more competition, and there definitely will be, well, I can't say definitely. In my opinion, there will be winners and losers. I've talked about some of the ones that I have concern in, that I have a low level of conviction in.
But so, people don't realize this, but they're marketing. I mean, their way of marketing for Bitcoin miners is to raise money for stock, right? That's how they market. They're marketing their company to get you as an investor to invest in their company. Would you go and pick Riot over CleanSpark right now?
If I was to add the next
your next
share of stock?
Yeah, your next whatever, $50,000. I mean, you look at this stuff And they're, I hate to say it, but CleanSpark has been executing extremely well.
Right.
Except that one thing that really, hurt my backside with no Vaseline. Sorry,
Let's
guys.
let me get to Midway and then I will answer that question. Midway, thank you for being a member, of course, and thanks for the super chat. Did you see the news that some legislators in Paraguay are hostile to Bitcoin mining again and are trying to do a ban? Would Bitfarms' current sites be okay? So I am going to have to look into that. I don't know the answer to that. I haven't heard anything from Bitfarms to hint that there's any problems there. But Paraguay is a big part of the Bitfarms story going forward. So, you know,
Yeah, but that's nothing. It's just they get too much money from it. You know what I mean?
that would be my knee-jerk reaction as
Yeah.
well, George. I'll dig in and look around and see if I see anything, but I haven't heard anything like that. And I look for, I will tell you guys, there's a lot of stuff out there. So there's a monumental amount of, all right, I'm not even going to call it information. There's words out there, but there's everybody saying everything. So I try to look at only certain sources. And even then, you got to really cross-check and verify that information is true. For instance, I found a story today that I cross-checked it. 7 or 8 different places confirmed the same thing. And by the time I got to the bottom of it, it was all nonsense. And they all traced back to the same source. And somebody was and it was a prediction about where Fidelity thought Bitcoin was going. And it was, an astronomical number, and it was not correct. I traced back to the analyst from Fidelity, and I skimmed, to be honest. It was like a 30 or 40 page report. And this information that's out there. So if you see some price target on Fidelity for Bitcoin that's 8, 9, 10, 11 figures, I would double check that, because from what I could see today, that is not real. But again, I saw it in 7 or 8 different places. So it's really hard to figure out truth from fiction right now in this world. There's just so much stuff out there in social media.
Especially with the lies from TikTok. Sorry.
I mean, it's true.
Anything you guys read on TikTok or see or any social media, try to verify it somehow or another.
Yeah, you have to verify it. And some of the danger is, once it's out there, everybody parrots everybody else. So then you hear it 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and you go, well, I hear that all over. And then sometimes a big YouTuber will pick it up because they heard the same thing and they'll say it. But that still doesn't make it true.
Where are we on the fear and greed index, Tom?
Let's take a look at the fear and greed index. We're still in extreme fear. I'm sorry, extreme greed. So we're at 79. Yesterday we got down to greed at 70. Today we bounced back up to 79, and really we're a few hours away from this ticking again. So, but we've been between greed and fear, greed or extreme greed for a while now. But it can get much higher than this. We were in the mid-90s at the peak of the last bull market. So I would expect to stay. We may pop back down to neutral at some point, but I think it's unlikely we're going to see fear for a long time. So we're probably going to be between neutral greed and extreme greed for, I would say, if history repeats itself, 80 or 90% of the next 12 to 15 months. But there's no guarantee.
So I think that we're going to have to go with Viva La Fray, the way he does this, by the way.
Which is?
I will tell you here in 1 second. Would you watch live on Rumble?
Oh, is this going to be the next?
Yeah, it's going to be the next question.
Is this because everybody's complaining? I see a lot of people complaining about the YouTube ads. What
I'm thinking about doing is doing it the way that guy does it. What he does is he starts off on YouTube and then he rotates over to Rumble.
Gotcha.
I mean, I just want to do the best thing for, you guys. I mean, we don't care. We use Bitcoin. I mean, it does seem like Bitcoin, Tom, let's be honest. The last 6 months, they've done everything they can not to let you get any bigger.
This channel?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we had one little push, and then, yeah, they definitely, it feels like, and now they've added ads, and maybe, you know, this is not channel specific, it's across YouTube, I guess, and it seems to be annoying the heck out of people, so, yeah, I mean, you know, you talked about Rumble, it's really...
It is, Jerry. Hey, I don't even know how to say it. Paramera? Is it Palmera? We really don't rip on other people that are doing what we're doing, you know? And I mean that. I mean, Sebastian's kind of like a friend, you know, and I mean, he gets some really good, deep information out there. And I know he's not making any money at this.
No, that's right. He spends
Yeah.
a massive amount of time. You know, there's only a few of us in this space doing this. We spend a massive amount of time putting this information together, and you know,
I'm not seeing ads. So no, so 52% no, 48% yes. Wow.
oh,
So I
hold
mean,
on.
we're stuck here. You know what I mean?
This is the bottom line. All the other streaming platforms added up put together are next to zero compared to YouTube. So if
Oh yeah, I mean it's absolutely insane what it is.
yes,
And if you look at, I've only been on Rumble. Like I don't really care for Rumble. I've been on it like 1 or 2 times, and it's just so clunky. You know what I mean?
I've never even been on Rumble.
Yeah,
I see some
it's clunky.
the few people that I see that I'll give you an example, and you guys will probably not like this person. I used to find him extremely annoying. Now sometimes I watch him. Russell Brand, I think, switches over to Rumble in the middle, but he's got 6 million followers. So you know, if you have we have 20,000 followers. We're gonna have 6 people if we switch over to Rumble in the middle.
What was it? He's a bit of a loon. That would be what he would say.
He's, you know, he talks 1,000 miles a minute, but, you know, at least he's asking questions. I guess that's what I would say. You know, I don't always agree with everything he says, but at least he's asking a lot of questions.
You know what's funny, Scott? Whoever Cantonese and Cat is, I actually follow him on X. He used to watch the channel. I don't know if he still does, but that's how I, got to know who he was.
I don't remember that person.
I know he was way in the beginning, like one of the first ones. And then he said,
Does he have a YouTube
"If Tom,
channel?
no, yes, he does. He just started a YouTube channel. And what he said was, if Tom can do this, I can do this."
Please, everybody, jump in. The more, the merrier.
Spaces, yeah. Have you heard of a thing? I've never even heard of Spaces.
Spaces is Twitter or X.
Oh, is it?
That's
Oh.
getting quite common. So there is some action there.
See that? Maybe we should do that one.
I just have to learn how to use it. That's the other thing. As you guys, those of you who have been with me for a while know, I'm slightly technologically impaired. But if people will do it, I'll figure out how to use it.
I'm gonna make your poll. Who gets to 30 exa first? I'm even gonna put Riot in there too. Who gets to 30 exahash first?
Well, there's really only 3 legit companies that are in the running for that.
I'm gonna say 4. You always forget about the 4th.
To get to 30 exahash?
What about Core?
Yeah.
They have no. So it's just Riot.
You can put them in there if you want.
I put CleanSpark, Marathon, Core, and Riot. How about them?
Yeah, let's see. I mean, maybe people disagree with me. Maybe they think that Core is going to get to 30. The problem with Core Scientific, and this is why I don't put them in the big 3. I'll talk about this right now because I think it's an important distinction, and I'm not disparaging Core Scientific. I actually think this is the second month in a row they've mined more Bitcoin than any of the other publicly traded Bitcoin mining companies. They're reasonably efficient miners. they are growing. They just came out of Chapter 11, and it seems like things are going well. A lot of people think they're very undervalued. Now, there's some complicated stuff to figure out what their true valuation is. There's two different levels of warrants out there that are going to dramatically increase the number of outstanding shares. But even if you add all of those in to fully diluted, they still seem to be trading at a pretty reasonable price. I'm not buying them only because it's a little confusing, and also because I've been dollar cost averaging into the other Bitcoin miners for years now. So, I did add one new position in the last year, and it was Iris Energy. After I started to add it, I got out, waited for a big pullback, and I've been averaging in. It's my smaller of my positions by far, but I like that one as well. I don't think that these 3 or 4 are going to be. I think there's 8 companies that have a really legit chance of being great investments. Will that play out that way? I think it will depend on the price of Bitcoin and each company's ability to properly execute their plan. So those are 2 big variables, right? And, there's other potential variables out there. Obviously, if somehow the, difficulty level spirals beyond what we think, or, geopolitical things occur, there are no guarantees in this.
There's no guarantees in life, Tom.
There's no guarantees in life.
Unless you eat a lot of sugar, you're guaranteed to get fat. Huh?
So, George, I'll ask you this right now. I see Crypto Fever saying, yeah, the ads are ridiculous. Tom, probably some setting on your channel. You obviously monetize now by YouTube, and they are making money and not paying you. So my question would be, my fear would be, so I can research this and figure out if there's a way to turn this off. But if there is a way to turn this off and I turn it off, my guess would be that if YouTube can't make any money off of me, then they just literally won't show anybody this live stream. And then we're just going to be sitting here talking to ourselves. So,
Tom, that's a good I know the answer to that, Joanne. Tom, have you sold any of your CleanSpark?
No, not yet.
Nope.
And I'll tell you, I very well may, the next time they get back to $23.60 was not their all-time high. It was the high from the previous bull market in November of 2021 when Bitcoin hit 69,000 back at the peak of the last bull market. So one of my exit strategies was going to be to start dollar cost averaging out of these when they hit their previous all-time high. Was going to be one of the thresholds. CleanSpark, I just feel like, has changed so dramatically that they've done that. They got real close once, and then they got beyond that, and I just, we'll see. I may very well do that. And if I do, it will only be the very first small part of getting out of that position. I don't expect, my price target is much higher than that. And I think we're so early in the cycle, but there's nothing wrong with taking profits, and maybe I will. I very well. It's the only one really that's in the neighborhood of me considering taking profits on. I'm still in the red on some of my positions. I'm up nicely on Bitfarms. I'm up by far the most on CleanSpark. So if I were to start taking profits, I will certainly start with CleanSpark. So, and if that's a part of your plan, anybody who has that as a part of their strategy, you got to have a strategy. And it's never, I won't say it's never wrong. If it's your plan and you're taking profits, it's always important to remember, it's not, some days your portfolio is up, some days your portfolio is down. You haven't really made any money or lost any money until you actually sell the stock. So, execute your plan. It's not an unreasonable thing to say, hey, it's at its, high from the peak of the previous cycle. Let me start taking some profits.
Guys, I'm just dying of laughter reading all your questions. But in statements. But that is, how would you invest if you had 50K right now? Would you put it into CleanSpark? If you had to put it into Bitcoin miners, would you, and you had to put all of it in one.
Is this a question for everybody or for me?
Yeah, for you.
If I had to put all my money into just one miner, Oh, that is brutally difficult for me to answer because, as you know, that is so fundamentally against my nature. I'll answer it this way. CleanSpark is right now. CleanSpark is both my largest position out of all the Bitcoin miners and my highest level of conviction.
When do you think the Corsica that Riot has will get fully energized?
When do I? Sorry, can you repeat that?
When the Corsica, the Chevy piece of crap car they made.
All right. Talking about Riot's new facility
Yeah.
they're building.
That's what I'm gonna always call it, by the way, the Corsica.
Well, I can tell you they're targeting 31 exahash that we just read by the end of 2024, and they're targeting 40.8 exahash by the end of 2025. My point would be to you that neither of those numbers would be anywhere near full capacity for 1.7 gigawatts of power that they have. So
is the power plant right there? Is it their power plant?
It's their infrastructure.
Is there any laws on the books that says that they have to put that into the network because we see what's going on? Did you hear it was over 1,000 acres of solar panels that got ruined 3 weeks ago in Texas? Did you hear this? 1,000 acres. Another hailstorm happened. It just happened.
And it took out some of the solar panels. Is that what you're saying?
Some? It took out every single solar panel. And all those solar panels have some type of something in them that's leaching into the groundwater. So kiss that right out the window is helping the environment. Son of a bitch. I didn't think about that. You got to run. Listen, I'm all for helping the environment, but you got to think of every scenario when you go. Sorry.
That's right.
Now everybody's going to hate me.
Well, it's a complicated. Nothing's perfect. I want to get to Kevin K because he left a super chat. Thank you, Kevin K. Thanks for being a member. Thanks for the super chat. Kevin K said, just to the member who was telling me about how I poorly manage money, in last 8 minutes, I got 1K job, which will be around 600 profit in 1 day. So that is what Kevin K wanted to say to somebody out there. So
thank you. It wasn't me, Kevin. I wanted to talk to you. I don't know if you know this, but I have a pack out company. I don't think you know that, Kevin. I don't really talk about it.
Are you guys? Yeah, is he in your? Well, who knows? Or
no,
maybe you do know.
I think he's in Ohio. Ohio. So, okay. Everybody is saying CleanSpark, by the way.
Who's the first to get to 30 exahash? CleanSpark, Marathon, Core Scientific, or Riot? So to me, well, okay, trick question. The first to get to, in my opinion, the first to get to 30 exahash is going to be Marathon. Now, the first to get to 30 exahash that's actually up and running for the month, for a full month.
Yeah.
Right, because Marathon, let me just go to theirs, and I'll show you why I'm saying this. Because if you look, what did I blow right by it? Okay, energized hash rate. Marathon's already at 27.8 energized hash rate. So if everything was up and running and working as it should be, they'd be at about 28 exahash right now. However, average operational hash rate, 18.3 this month, 17.6 last month. So this is 3 months in a row they've been having some significant problems. This is not because they're not plugged in or not energized or any of that. These are all up and ready to go. They just, they got like 9 exahash, it looks like, where they're just not running. So, I don't know. It could very well be that, in 90 or 100 days, they hash out all these problems and they're at 30 exahash 90 days from now. So I still would probably go with Marathon, just because they're so close. Now, I know that everybody has some legitimate concerns that, they are drastically off. This is a big gap between the amount they're actually running and the amount that they could be running if they were at full capacity. So,
Yeah, but are any of those like outdated, energy sucking
no,
machines?
almost their entire fleet is the XPs and the new, now they got their new things. So it's not because, no, it's just due to difficulties that they're having, and they go on to explain some of that in this report. So they're super close, but yet look, they, with 27.8, because of this 18.3, they mined very close to the same amount. They did mine more than CleanSpark, but CleanSpark mined over 800 Bitcoin in the month of March, which was, by far more than they've been mining. It was their best month. And so versus 894, I think CleanSpark was 806 or something like that. I have a little chart here somewhere. So CleanSpark mined 806 Bitcoin in the month of March. That was a 24% improvement month over month. So they were the winner. This is why I'm saying, to me, this was the best monthly operational update. That performance, and it's mostly because they continue to get machines online and add exahash. So 24% improvement. Marathon at 894. That was actually an improvement over February, but that's, all of these numbers are disappointing. They mined 1,800 in December. Now that was an anomaly, so they're mining half that now. But Core Scientific actually won the month with 906 Bitcoin mined. And they're at, I think, 19.3 exahash. So, that's more than Marathon had operational. Now, you can see these numbers are very, very close, right? There's 12 apart from each other. So that's, statistically almost irrelevant, the difference in the amount that they mined.
Maybe they're like the government. Maybe they don't know where they left the machines. What? That was right there the other day. I don't know what happened to it.
JD said the Texas miners need everything to go right. So there's definitely something's going on in Texas, because the Texas miners seem to be underperforming. So CleanSpark has the vast majority of what they do in Georgia. I think now they're in Mississippi, if I'm remembering correctly, and they're branching outwards. But and they're a very efficient miner, but they're not the only efficient miner. It's one of the reasons I like Bitfarms. They're a very efficient miner. Now, one of the things that I don't like about Bitfarms, and they're one of my big positions as well, I'm very bullish on Bitfarms. I think they have a lot of room to the upside. But I would like to, here's what I would like to see from Bitfarms. If I had one complaint, I would like them to express that at some point they are going to change their treasury strategy and start hodling Bitcoin again. They were always a company that hodled Bitcoin for reasons, they got a little bit into a jam with some money. They took a loan out, bought some Bitcoin. All that went haywire when we went into a crypto winter, and they had to change philosophies. Well, they've gotten rid of 100% of their debt. They now have some liquidity. They do have 806 Bitcoin on their balance sheet as of March 31st. But, over the last, I think this is 3 or 4 monthly operational updates in a row where that's fluctuated between 804 and 806 Bitcoin. So they haven't been adding Bitcoin. Even if they're not going to start adding it tomorrow, I understand they're in the middle of, substantial growth. They're about to go from 6.5 exahash. They plan to get to 21 exahash by December 31st. So, that's incredible growth. But I would like to see them say, when the math works, when we can pay, all of our overhead, we're going to start adding Bitcoin to the balance sheet and start hodling again. Keep that 806 they have and add to that position. That would be if I had one request for Bitfarms, or if I had one complaint about what they're doing. But, obviously I love the fact that it looks like, their plan is to get from 6.5 exahash to 21 exahash. So once again, it's all about execution. That's a great plan. They've ordered all the machines. They've got delivery dates, et cetera, et cetera. But, there's a long way from 6.5 to 21. So let's see if they get there, and if they get there in a timely manner. Kevin K, thanks for the super chat. Kevin K said, in 2 weeks we will be celebrating Halving Day. Any special plans? Champagne
I heard
toast?
everybody's trying to wrap it up to get it to 420, by the way. It's going to be 420.
It could be. Somewhere, let's see. Every one of these clocks says something different, but CoinGecko, they're estimating April 20th.
Yeah, that was done on purpose.
But I see April 18th, April 19th, April 20th, and obviously, it depends on how fast these blocks get mined.
I think it says, I get high with a little help from my friends. Oh, no, I think it's, I get by with a little help with my friends.
Both. It's both are in the
I know
lyrics
it
of
is.
that.
I know. I've never, ever, I'm allergic to grass, so I have never, ever, ever smoked it.
All right, what's our next poll?
I got one up already.
To add crypto? Do you want us to add crypto? Aha. Okay, this is very close.
This is 50-50. But not too many people are voting, so.
Yeah, if you're interested, let us know in the vote, yay or nay. Do you want to hear some crypto talk? George is more versed on crypto than I am.
I can't believe it's almost down. It's like if one more person votes, yes, it's going to be.
Boom, 50-50.
You guys do this to us on purpose. I'm telling you.
Yeah, it's amazing how many 50-50s we get.
It's so funny.
Kay is asking, any update on Bitfarms CEO? No update yet. I mean, I do expect them to try to do that expeditiously, but I feel like, it's going to take a couple of months. If they want to find a high-quality CEO, to vet a person properly.
Did you apply or no?
That is a job I would not take if they offered it to me.
Even for high seven figures?
For high seven figures, yes, I would take it.
I
changed my mind.
I don't know why I did this. But I always take peppermint, and I just took it, and I got my freaking eyes. I don't know if you guys know what essential oils are. Oh. They don't want me at Fireside Chat in the at Nashville. They wouldn't know what to do. Do you know I own a company? I'm the only one in the United States that owns a company called Poop Construction Services. So, sorry. I got my own issues. I love life and just have too much fun with it. And I'm happy. That's the key, Tom. Be happy.
Above all else.
Look at that.
Do the right thing and be happy.
Yes. Always do the right thing. It's pulling away. It's pulling away, guys.
Pulling away 51 to 49.
It's pulling away. How can it be 50? It's 80 votes. How can it be 51 to
it's mathematically impossible.
I know.
So one of those numbers is incorrect.
So now the voting's even wrong.
It's rigged.
Somebody voted for both.
This vote is rigged. Crypto Fever said, so what I got out of today is people are super focused on the short-term possibility due to the halving. Many have sold, not hating on this. Congrats to those who did, but are missing the long-term picture. And I think there is a lot of that. I think that's true, Crypto Fever. I think there's people taking profits, or, they jumped in anticipation of the ETFs, and, now they're taking some profits, and if I think that if we have a cycle that's even, in any way similar to the previous Bitcoin cycles, then those people will have missed the good part of the part that we're waiting for. Now, we've had a nice, incredible run in Bitcoin over the last 16 or 17 months, but the Bitcoin miners, other than CleanSpark, which got back to its previous high from the previous cycle. None of the other
But
ones are even in the neighborhood. Most of these have to triple or quadruple just to get back to where they were in the previous cycle. Now, some of them may never get back there, I believe.
I have a question. We're doing a fireside chat right now with Tom. See if he answers honestly. When you and I spoke about CleanSpark, and we both felt that it ran way too fast.
Yeah, it's so
Do
far.
you wish you would have got out at that point in time?
I don't. I
Really?
And here's
you
why.
You saved $10?
I will tell you why. I, particularly with the Bitcoin mining stocks, especially since the ETFs have come into play and as the halving approaches, there's too many moving parts. I don't know how to time these. I don't know how to swing trade these. And I'm not going to I've been holding some of my CleanSpark for years. So I'm not going to just quickly exit in hopes that maybe I get a tiny pullback and get back in at a lower price. Now, with hindsight of 20, if I had a time machine, would I go back in time and sell it and buy it at, a lower price? But I think we're still early in this cycle. So
I don't think CleanSpark. Landshark, I hope it could. I hope, but not financial advice, but I don't think it can. I don't think it can get tonight. But then again, if CleanSpark, let's say Bitcoin plummeted to $45,000, do you think CleanSpark would go to less than $10, Tom?
Let's go to the chart. I think I have that up. Give me a second. So we only have to go back to January of 2024. CleanSpark at $6.84. So is that impossible? No. I would be stunned. You'll see there's a gap here that I cannot imagine we will ever fill, but it wouldn't be the first time that I was wrong. I think I drew this line back, a long time ago. Not a long time ago. It only goes back to December of 2023, but somewhere in the $13.50 range. That would super surprise me if we got back down to that. That was the peak in December of 2023, but that's possible. 13 or 14 bucks. More likely if I was to draw a line that, somewhere in this range, there's been, nice support somewhere around, just over 15 bucks. We've bounced off of that a multitude of times. Now, that doesn't include Bitcoin having a flash crash or a mini crash. So yeah, if it does, maybe we get down to some of these lower numbers.
Looking back on that Friday that I sold and I went on my fishing trip, that fishing trip really hurt me, guys.
Well, the good news is there's more time. We're not at the end of the road. And, obviously, if Bitcoin plays out the way we think it's going to play out.
Jeff asked a question. Sorry, I missed it. Tom George for Riot. If you're a host miner, aren't you more likely to take a buyout post-halving as a reward is cut? Makes sense, no?
Which is that? Can I read that? What does it say?
Yeah.
Where's that?
If you're a host, it's kind of a few back.
Who's it from?
Unmod, Jeff. Unmodded.
Tom George for Riot. If you're a hosted miner, aren't you more likely to take a buyout post-halving as your reward is cut? So are you saying if you're a miner, if you're a Bitcoin miner and your machines are hosted by others, is that the question?
No, I think he's talking about selling the company.
Selling what company?
Like selling any company.
Right.
I don't know.
If their miners are hosted.
Right.
By others, I think is the question. I mean, your reward's getting cut in half for everybody, regardless. I'm not totally sure I understand that question.
I think he's talking about selling companies. I think he's saying, is that the time to sell post halving? Is it the time to sell the company?
I will tell you what I think. It depends. So for the companies that I've said there's going to be winners and losers. For the companies that I think, maybe losers is the wrong word, although I do think some of these companies are just going to straight up go out of business and they'll end up having an asset sale. They won't even sell the company. I don't think there's going to be a lot of mergers and acquisitions of publicly
Legacy
traded companies
contract.
buying other publicly traded companies. I hear an awful lot of talk from some of these CEOs that this is going to be a very active merger and acquisition season. But as I put more thought into this, I believe that it's going to be companies buying infrastructure companies, some of which may be publicly traded, some of which may not be publicly traded. I think that's where the mergers and acquisitions are going to come in. I looked through all of these Bitcoin mining companies that are publicly traded, and there's only 2 or 3, in my opinion, that are a potential candidate for a buyout. They're the stock price, the growth plans that they have. A lot of these companies, particularly the top 8, I just can't see any company that's got plans to get to 20 exahash or more. I just don't see any possible way where one of the other companies can buy them out. Now, a merger is a different story. A stock exchange with a merger, 2 of them combining forces in some way, I suppose that's more likely. But a buyout, selling your company, I don't know. There's a couple I think are candidates for that, but most I don't think are a good candidate, to sell their company. And remember, for publicly traded companies, you got to get the shareholders to agree to a sale. So
It's funny how you can see that when people are watching the stream later, like you have a question, you say something, and then it's like, why are you saying that now? They must be watching the stream, like delayed by like 10 or 15 minutes.
So it's interesting. Pigmara said Mara has Uridyne and will buy out APLD. Well, guess what? I agree. I happen to have that up. So I don't know if you read between the lines or, if you already had that idea on your own. It would certainly seem like I have this up. To me, this is what I think merger and acquisition is going to look like. A company like this, Applied Digital. This is my number one. So thank you, Pigmara. Apparently we're on the same page. This would be my number one buyout candidate post-halving right here.
So what do you think they were buy it for?
It's tough because if you're an Applied Digital shareholder, if you go, this stock was a $9 or $10 stock. This was a long time ago, but even in January, this was $7.50. It's trading under $3 right now. So, it's hard to say. But if this stock keeps heading in the right direction and they can put in a bid for $6 or something and buy this, that might be something that for a company like Marathon, there's already an existing relationship there between these companies. So I'm not saying this is, who knows? I just think whether it's Applied Digital or this is the blueprint to me for the stuff that's going to get acquired. Not so much like, they're going to go buy Cypher. I just don't think anybody can afford to buy Cypher. Now, again, a merger would be a different thing. So I suppose some of that could happen if there's some economies of scale, some efficiencies. I don't know. Those are going to be real tricky. I'm not seeing it, but let me know in the comments if you think you guys see one that's maybe a little more obvious that I don't see out there. I see somebody saying in the comments how to not do a merger. Masterclass Hut.
I know that one. I still wonder about that one.
Well, if we go to my list, let me go back here. Not to pile on, but if you look at the March operational reports, whereas CleanSpark stood out with a 24% increase month over month in the number of Bitcoin mined, HUT had a 21% decrease month over month in the amount of Bitcoin that they mined. So this, I continue to think that HUT has a different, I don't think they're going to focus on Bitcoin mining. That is my opinion. It's speculation, but there's been no, whereas all the other companies, all of their peers are deep into their growth plans. They're mining, their exahash continues to go down, and they're mining less and less Bitcoin. Let me go to their operational report. So now they have other streams of revenue, and I'm not saying they're going to fail or any of those things, and there may be reasons why this is a great company, but it seems to me like less and less of their focus seems to be on Bitcoin mining. They could prove me wrong. Oh, I did it again. I erased it. But if I can find it quickly, I'll do it this way. We'll cheat.
The
okay,
poll, 53%, Tom. It's running away.
Oh, well, we are now plus. Let's call it. People want crypto. I mean, we don't have to go all in, but we can talk, we can spend a little time talking crypto. Hive 8 said Pogo. I assume that's a merger, suggesting a potential merger of Hive and Hut 8. Hive is the other one that I would say could potentially be a merger candidate. So you guys in the comments are really on the same page as where I'm thinking. I just think there's only a very few that are good candidates for that.
You know what, though? I mean, Frank is such a good guy, too. And he is a member?
And they're doing a good job, in my opinion. The problem is, I don't know if they're going to get far enough fast enough. So we're going to have to see post-halving how their financial statements look based on where they're going. But they had, let me go back to my report, because they had, so if you go to Hive, that was 12% increase in the amount of Bitcoin they mined month over month. So, to me, so I highlighted 4. One of which is almost too small for me to really even talk about and has some other monster issues. But CleanSpark had 24% improvement month over month. Iris Energy had a 14% improvement month over month. They continue to add exahash. They have big growth plans. Hive added 12% month over month. And then Argo Blockchain did improve 12% month over month. But the previous 2 months, they dropped 20% and 26%. So it's almost not fair. I mean, they're not even anywhere close to back to where they were in, January, 2 months ago. So Argo Blockchain may be a different story. But to me, Hive, Iris, and CleanSpark, I was very impressed with their operational reports. Darren S., thank you for the super chat. Darren S. said, today exercise calls on 11K shares, $1.50 strike point. It looks like that's the TeraWolf, most efficient miner in the space, and a large slice of the pie. So Darren S. called TeraWolf a long time ago. He was early and correct on that one. So, and you exercised your calls. Okay. Nice. I don't know what, I'm doing a real bad job pressing the buttons today. I just accidentally closed another window. But here's Bitcoin on the 1-day chart, which we haven't looked at today anyway. So you can see, I mean, this line at 64,500, we looked at it the 15-minute time frame. So, this crossed days, but these were only a few minutes apart or a few hours apart. And, more so than that, if you go back to beginning of March, we've been above 61,900, call it 62,000. We've been above that since March 2nd. And, we ran all the way up to just under 74,000. 73,835 on this chart is our new all-time high. This line, the yellow line at 69,000, that was the high from the previous cycle back in November of 2021. So to me, I mean, if you look at this thing, all of this, I think, is consolidation. And I know everybody, you know, with the ETFs doing their thing, we got really used to everything, you know, it started to feel like just up in a straight line forever, but, you know, that's just not how this works. And there's nothing discouraging about this Bitcoin chart, in my opinion. I think this is pretty healthy stuff, especially after, I mean, if we just go back to, this is January. You know, from January to today, we're up 75%, so it's hard to say things aren't going well. Yes, at one point we were up 90%, so we're a little off of our highs. We had about an 18% pullback in the middle in a pretty short window of time from this high down to this low. And so we didn't even quite get a 20% pullback. So I still think all this is super healthy, and sometimes things take a little bit of time, and we've gotten used to hyper moves to the upside, one after the next after the next. And, you know, maybe we got to wait a little bit, which nobody likes. And it's a little bit of a switch in gears because things were off to the races. But I still feel like, you know, we're early in the bull cycle. And when I watch everybody else, you know, everybody else, the optimism out there is overwhelming. So sometimes in the short term, that's a little bit of a red flag, you know, and it's a potential to catch some people leveraging long and that kind of stuff. But from a big picture standpoint, all of this looks like good stuff. To me, we are clearly still in, you know, what's now a 16+ month bull market. If I switch this to the 1 week, I mean, from December of 2022 to now, even after this pullback, we're up 339% in, you know, 15 months. So that's a bull market. And this isn't even the big part of Bitcoin's typical bull cycle. So, you know, there's no guarantees. Obviously, we don't know that this is going to behave like prior cycles, but I think there's all the more catalysts. I believe that this cycle is going to be better than the previous cycle. That's my personal opinion, not financial advice. So please, you know, do your own thing and understand there will be volatility. 20% moves in Bitcoin are nothing. In the previous cycle, in the previous several cycles, most of the pullbacks were more like 30% or 35%. We had some 50% pullbacks in the middle of the bull market. So this is volatility. The volatility has decreased. The last 15 or 16 or 17 months, 23% is the largest pullback we've had. So, you know, and a 23% pullback hurts. But, you know, it's less than we're used to in this space.
No.
So we closed out that last, what was the final answer on our last poll?
Hang on, I gotta leave for a second.
All right, George, we'll see you in a minute. I don't know, did we ever do the poll as to, okay, so that's the crypto polls. I did not see the results. Did we do our poll as to what Bitcoin's next move is going to be? Because I don't see that poll. No, we have not. So I'm doing it right now. Let me go back further just to make sure. Okay, so I'm going to quickly start a poll. Give me just a second. If we did this, I'm not seeing it. I just went all the way back as far back as it will let me go in the chat. So So we do this at least one time per live stream. It's always good, I think, for everybody to see where everybody else is at on this. And the reason I picked those two numbers, what's Bitcoin's next move? 74,000 or 64,000. And the reason for that is you'll see this purple line here at 64,500. That's something we just tested last week. And then our new recent all-time high is just under 74,000. So it's really these two purple lines. We've been trading sideways. Which move is next? And we're not really in the middle of that. We're closer to the 64,000 than we are the 74,000 by a little bit. So Crypto Fever saying last cycle it was only a few days above 60K. People forget too quickly. That's right. I mean, we peaked. We had a double top, but each time it only spent a few days above $60,000. So, now we're building a nice base somewhere around $69,000. This is really good price action in my opinion, and we're pre-halving. So that's the other thing worth mentioning. This is the first time in the history of Bitcoin that we've taken out the high from the previous bull market prior to the halving. So, and we did so, a month and a half before the halving. Now we're doing some consolidation, and we'll see. So, MicroStrategy is 2 to 20K said we already did this poll, so I can't find the results as far back as I go, so I missed the whole thing on that poll. So I'll end it quickly. I'll let some people vote and see where we're at. I don't know why it's not showing me that, so I missed it. Sorry. Crypto Fever said, we just had a massive move from 38K where everyone was screaming 25K next. I told people many times 60 to 70K before the halving. Everyone laughed. Now it's back to bearishness. Violent leg up loading. So, I mean, this is always what happens. There's no doubt. These are the hard moments. These consolidations, people start to get nervous. And then we may test some lower numbers. So I don't leave it out of the question that we'll test, over the next 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, these shorter term periods of time, we could go down. I have this whatever brown gold box, whatever you call it. The top of this would be a 20% pullback. So I'm just not going to eliminate the possibility that we ultimately finish playing out a 20% pullback. I don't think that's the likely case scenario. So that's not what I think is going to happen. But, you can't eliminate. You got to leave this on here to understand. Like if we do that, if we get back to 59,000, this is not some catastrophic event. This is just one of our normal 20% pullbacks. Even if we get back to the bottom of this is a 25% pullback. That would be around 55,000. Again, I don't think either of those things are going to happen, but I don't think it would be time to panic if they did, because that is our typical pullback. 20 to 23% has been the typical pullback in the last basically year and a half. So if we get that, then, that's not time to panic. Typically, that has been a gigantic buying opportunity. So, buy at your own risk, but that's the way it's played out in the past. So for me, I'm waiting. I've been dollar cost averaging in so much for so long. Somebody at the beginning of the stream said, something to the effect of I've run out of, my ability to dollar cost average or buy the dip or whatever the case may be. And it's like, I get it. And I have super slowed down my purchases because all these price points, although they are below where I want them and they represent pullbacks, I've just, how many times can you buy the same dip? So I get it. But for those of you who haven't filled out your positions, right? Not everybody's been dollar cost averaging into these for 2, 3, 4 years. So, if you're looking for buying opportunities, they're still presenting themselves, in my opinion. and it's the hardest time to buy, right? It's everybody wanted CleanSpark when they were at $23, and now nobody wants them when they're at $15.60. So, you know, that's how it always plays out.
Yeah, maybe they want them at $12, Tom.
Well, but that's, you know, to what Crypto Fever just talked about. That's the dangerous game.
They call me Iceman.
Who's they?
The people.
So I redid a poll that you must have already done that I didn't see and I couldn't find. Bitcoin's next move. So is that the way it played out last time, George? Because I didn't see this poll at all. Yeah. So about 2/3, 1/3 think the next move is up.
I don't know how it can be down.
I'll end this and let you do another one. And then
did you guys talk about how like the Bitcoin that they've been selling are like one-off? See, what gets me nervous is when you see the old wallets come online. That's what makes me nervous.
Are you seeing old wallets?
One did. Yeah, one did.
So you never know with a one-off or somebody trying to do whatever the case may be. But if that becomes a trend, that's right. The whales, if you will, as they call them, if you start to see that be a trend, typically the whales have been right. When they're leaving, it's time to get out. I just can't fathom that it's time to get out right now, unless you are super short-term trying to time the market. But I just can't. With Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners, these moves are so fast that I'm not willing to do it. And congratulations. I'm not criticizing anybody that is doing it and making money. Congratulations. I am worried for the people that are doing it and losing money or losing opportunities. So
there's another important date with the Craig Wright. I don't know if anybody's paying attention to that. On the 12th. Did you hear about this one?
Please tell us.
He has to go in and pay a big fine or something like that on one of the wall. And if he doesn't, he's got until the 12th to do it.
He's got to pay. He's got to pay a fine. So yeah,
it's something in Florida.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's something. Yeah, something to do with in Florida.
So it has been determined legally that he is not Satoshi.
Yeah, by people in Europe.
Apparently, there are still those who believe that he may be Satoshi. I'm not confirming or denying as to whether or not George is one of those people.
You know what? Anything's possible. But if I'm Satoshi, how can he be Satoshi?
That's not a bad question.
I mean,
Midway saying Riot.
I don't want to get sued by Copa, so I better not say anything.
Midway said Riot is my #1 buy for this month. So Midway, who is a member, thanks for being a member. And Kevin K said Riot options look most attractive to me right now. And then I don't like mispronouncing people's name, but M said Riot and Mara are best options play. Somebody's saying the stream got cut. I'm not showing that. My sign says our signal strength is excellent. I'll end this stream since it sounds like it's a repeat. Or not going to end the stream. I'll end the poll.
I got to leave at 6. If it's 6, I got to leave.
All right. Well,
4 minutes to go.
It sounds like we should wrap it up anyway, unless let me just get to a few quick things that I left off.
Put the daily candle chart bull flag in Discord.
Put the daily candle chart bull flag in Discord. Oh, Crypto Rich put that in there. So for all of those of you in Discord, Crypto Rich has put that in there. I'll get to another. I mean, this is another thing I'm looking at. And there's a million ways to look at this. But hold on, I can get back to this one.
I went to commercial. Oh, it went to commercial. I gotcha.
This is not where I want to be. I want to be like this. So to me, and again, obviously there's a million different patterns. Some of this pattern recognition stuff is hocus pocus, but to me, we've been trading inside of this, and this ends somewhere within a few days of the halving. So for whatever that's worth, we found we've got an ascending line of support working here. So I'm looking for this somewhere between now and the halving to break out to the upside. And, to me at that point, then you're looking at, in my opinion, a potential, $80,000. So I think it was Crypto Fever or Darren S. You can take credit, let me know. Somebody's been calling out, $80,000 to $90,000 by the halving. And so I still believe that that's entirely possible. I saw a few very prominent people predict $100,000 by the halving. And remember, I'm going to go back to the clock. Like, the halving's not some off in the distant event anymore. We're 14 and a half days away, a little under 15 days potentially away from the halving. So, if we have that breakout, that's going to be a big move to the upside. So again, obviously this is all, technical analysis is speculation, and, it's going to end up being what it's going to be.
By the way, I want to tell everybody what my background is, and thank you, Ryan. That is actually Bitcoin's going to the move at the halving. That's what this has all been about.
Oh, your background. Your actual,
that's
which is
that's
behind
a halving.
you.
I mean, that's an eclipse. Sorry, that's an eclipse. So Bitcoin's going to the moon at the eclipse,
which is Monday.
Yep.
So let's see. I mean, there's a lot of optimism out there. I will do I will have the weekly update come out this weekend of how the Bitcoin miners performed, but spoiler alert, it was not good, as you guys already know, versus Bitcoin. And then next week we'll get the monthly operational reports, because basically everybody's reported. There's one or two smaller ones that have yet to report. So I'll put that together as well. So those two things are ahead. To the members,
thanks for decide next Friday if we're going to do that, Tom.
Do
a live stream for the halving.
I feel like we should do a live stream for the halving. I mean, we can discuss again, but I feel like it's once every 4 years.
Oh my goodness, they got another earthquake in New York City, Fever just said.
That's not good.
Did you hear about that, Tom, or no?
No, I did not.
There was a 4.5 earthquake around 10 o'clock, I think.
4.5. I have no
magnitude.
Concept of the Richter scale. I know it works.
I think it goes up to 8.
It does, but it's like 10x each number, I think, is how that works. So
that's just insane. They don't get earthquakes in
no, but there is a
New York
massive
City.
fault line there. But you're right. The earthquakes are few and far between.
Yep, wow, dude, this is crazy.
That's incredible.
Did you hear they were worried about a tsunami?
No. Well, let's knock on wood that doesn't happen. On that note, let's have a positive note. Everybody have a fantastic weekend. Thank you for joining us. I know this wasn't the Bitcoin miners' best week. Let's hope for better things next week. Let's see if Bitcoin can take a move to the upside this weekend, as George has pointed out recently. Well, what's your prediction, George? I won't put words in your mouth. What do you think happens this weekend?
I think we got a new moon coming on Monday.
So Monday.
So I think we got some opportunity for some
breakout on Monday.
Yeah, I'm saying a breakout on Monday. I mean, it's time. It's time. We've waited long enough.
So maybe a little sideways action over the weekend, and maybe a breakout on Monday. Let's see what happens. We got 2 weeks until the halving, so exciting times. Thanks again
See you guys.
to everybody. Thanks, George. Thank you, members, subscribers, etc. Have a fantastic weekend.